All right, welcome everybody to the Work Hard, Play Hard podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Harding, and I got Clayton Cundy here with me today.
Yes.
So excited to have you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Well, let's get to know you a little bit, Clayton. Obviously,
Okay.
You've been doing real estate for how long now?
8 years.
Okay.
I got my broker's license after year 3.
Okay.
So I work for Realty. I'm an associate broker for them.
Okay.
But yeah, 8 years. I've just finished up my 8th year, and it's been fantastic so far. So
That's
I love it.
And how big's your brokerage then? How many?
It's small.
Okay.
It's
Just
a couple of us.
Sure.
It's actually my mom who started it.
Okay.
When I was born in 1989.
nice.
So she's, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I've been following her lead.
Yeah.
For as long as I can remember, and so it's great.
And I know she's still actively doing real estate because I actually just did a deal with her too.
Did you? Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
So,
yeah, she's still going strong. She's got a motor, so she'll never stop.
That's
so.
awesome. Okay. Well, good.
Yeah.
Well, and what, I guess, maybe you already know the answer because your mom's in real estate, but but I mean, that's not a given, just because you have a parent in it.
Yeah.
But what got you into real estate? Why did you choose real estate?
Well, I mean, my mom is in it, and my dad was in the construction side of stuff, and so I've watched them do, flips and rentals my whole life, and I was always their guinea pig on picking up garbage and mowing the lawns for those.
Yeah.
And then I just noticed, once I started getting older and realizing what she actually does for a job, that's when I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, you were still able to come to my baseball game and still work a lot, and and do really well. So that was appealing to me, and it just seems like real estate's always been in my blood as long as I can remember.
So good work-life balance. That's one of the
work-life balance
was
yes, and then it's turned into, man, it's really fun helping people achieve a huge goal.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what it's been, and so that's where it stayed for me.
And so tell me where's your brokerage located at? Where are you guys?
We're in Spanish Fork.
Spanish Fork. Okay.
Yep.
So obviously as a realtor, you're going to where are most of your deals happening, I guess, right?
I mean, most of them are, around Spanish Fork, Utah County for sure. I've done them all in St. George, I've done in Ogden, so I'll go anywhere I need to. I've got a couple in Fairview right now, so anywhere I need to go, I will, and I study all the markets, but Utah County is really my home base, just because that's where the clients want to stay.
Sure.
Or or sell. So.
And are you seeing, you mentioned Fairview and stuff like that. And maybe this is just because I've had a few more in some of those more rural areas. Are you seeing an uptick in those areas, or is that just,
Yeah, I mean, because Spanish Fork used to be a small town, and now that it's not, the people that have been there forever and liked that small town feeling are starting to leave and go south or, somewhere smaller, and so we're getting them out of there and finding Fairview, Mount Pleasant, Moroni, all sorts of stuff, so.
So those areas are growing then?
They are growing, everywhere. It seems like it's growing.
Sure.
I mean, you get a lot more land and a better deal in those smaller towns, so people are taking advantage of that.
And I guess I'll stay with that just a little bit longer. What are there, obviously one of the downsides of some of those smaller towns is there's probably not a lot of inventory.
Right.
But are builders building in there? Are there other homes that, what are people, how are people able to buy in those areas, I guess?
It's mostly, older homes that are coming up for sale. You don't see a ton of building. I think it will.
Sure.
Once they people realize this country living's super nice, it's not bad, and a lot of people are starting to work from home.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, I can go have an acre and not a ton of neighbors, and for half the price.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to catch on more, and I think builders will pick up on that and start building that way.
Gotcha.
So,
okay. But, well, what are you seeing with, I guess, as far as the market goes, what are you seeing happening right now? Obviously, rates, close to 8%,
right.
and stuff like that. How are you seeing that affect the market?
I mean, listings are sitting on the market a little longer, so I'm trying to tell everyone, be a little bit more patient. This is actually a fairly normal market, where houses are sitting 60 days.
Sure.
That was pretty normal until 2021. All this stuff when the market was going crazy, but it's slowly turning into a buyer's market, as crazy as that sounds with the interest rates.
Yeah.
But sellers are willing to work, on the price, on closing costs, help for 2-1 buy downs, stuff like that. So they're a lot more flexible. it seems like you can take your time. The inventory is still low, but you can shop around a little bit longer versus 2021 when it was like you see a house, you have to throw in an offer that day and you're competing with 30 people.
Yeah.
So really, I like having the buyers right now. It's a little more relaxing. They can take their time.
Sure.
You know, if they qualify and they're fine with it, it's not bad at all.
Okay.
So.
And so, what advice are you giving them? I guess buyers and stuff like that right now. Are you are they able to negotiate better terms and stuff like that?
Yeah, a lot better terms. We can normally come down on the price, help with closing costs, do the 2-1 buy down.
Yeah.
I've always just told everyone, you know, if you're comfortable with this payment at the 8% interest rate,
Yeah.
then I would do it.
Okay.
Just because I think when the rates come down, we're going to go back to that insane market because we still are short houses. The inventory is still low.
Yeah.
So.
And are you able to negotiate a good amount of closing costs then? I guess. You know,
Yeah.
Typically.
Yeah.
Like 2-3%, I guess. You know, as far as
Yeah, definitely. I would.
Okay.
I would say that. I mean, the house prices. It seems like they're between $450 to $600. We're getting 10 to 12,000 in closing costs paid.
Gotcha.
So it helps a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Good. Well, yeah. No, I know, and maybe I'll talk about this just for a second. But like 2-1 buy downs. One of the benefits of 2-1 buy downs is because interest rates are higher right now. Obviously, it's a huge advantage that you can drop your rate. Let's say it's 7%. Well, you can drop it to 5% for the first year, 6% the second year, right? And so you're saving $400 or $500 a month, which makes that payment quite a bit lower, right?
Right.
And so it allows you to get into a home now at a lower payment, and the idea is that hey, in a year or two, you're gonna rates are gonna fall, you're gonna be able to refinance, kind of thing.
Exactly, and I think it's a great idea. I've done it a lot this last year. It's a real hot thing that we've been doing, and when these prices are kind of slowly coming down right now, and we can negotiate the price, that's a great time to get in, and then once the rates go down, the prices are going to go screaming back up.
Sure.
So then it's a lot easier to refinance when those rates come down. Versus okay, now I want 30,000 off this asking price in a year and a half when it's going to be multiple bidding wars. So it's.
Yeah. No, and I guess that's the thing with the market right now. As far as trending goes, I've heard 2024 should be. I think the latest statistic I heard is about 10% more purchases than 2023. So I mean, it is supposed to be increasing as far as more people buying and stuff like that.
Yes.
But any forecasting on the market, I guess, if you were to,
I mean, I wish I knew exactly what was going to happen, right? I'd be really, really rich if that was the case. But what I think the election's coming up.
Sure.
Might bring the interest rates down.
Yeah.
And then if that's the case, if we get back towards the 5 range, even, I mean, the prices are just going to go. Yeah. I think everyone's going to want to be a buyer again.
Sure.
So.
Sure.
My thing is, okay, buy now. Let's do the 2-1 buy down. Get you that low rate for the next few years.
Yeah.
And then when those rates do come down, let's just refinance. And then you're not dealing with the bidding war. And now you've probably got some equity.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I think it's a great time to keep buying. So.
Good. No, I think you're right. I mean, have you seen? So you've been doing it for 8 years. Sticking with the trends. What have you seen change, I guess, over your 8 years as far as real estate goes? I mean, you started.
Besides the prices, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the prices have gone up quite a bit, but it was, from 2016 to 19, it was kind of like this market.
Yeah.
Just the prices were lower.
Yeah.
And then once 21, like COVID, 2021, even 22, that was when multiple offers, everything you had to do, you had to change in negotiations. And now we're going back to kind of what it was pre-COVID on negotiating, like the prices and everything, closing costs.
Yeah. You
can ask for things. And those few years where you couldn't ask for things, you had to pay over appraisal. You weren't getting help on closing costs. So it's just, you just have to change the way you do things, and that's fine.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
So.
What are you seeing anything with technology? Has technology changed your industry at all?
Oh yeah, I mean, even just as simple as emails, right?
Sure.
Because my mom didn't have email.
Sure.
For real estate, so it was like every document you needed signed, you had to go to the house.
Sure.
It's wild. So, I mean, DocuSign makes everything a lot easier. Obviously, social media is helping drive. I would say that's where probably 40% of my clientele comes from. So social media. So yeah, it's just improving, and it's great. So
it's funny you mentioned DocuSign because I remember I've been doing loans for like 17 years now. So
yeah.
So I remember when I first started. By the time I got the contract as a loan officer, it was like I can't read this.
Yeah.
It's just because it's been faxed back and forth and scanned and different things like that, and so it's just awful, right? So sometimes you'd be like, hey, send me the original contract so I can at least see the verbiage.
Right.
And then sure, here's the signed stuff. But anyhow, that's.
And it seemed like that's how my childhood was my mom was like, jump in the car, we gotta go get a signature.
Like, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's what a lot of it was, right?
That was it.
The signatures. Okay, so you mentioned social media too. Let's talk about that. Like, so you say 40%. So are these? I'm curious. Of those 40% you're getting, are they people you know already? Are they friends of past clients? Who are they? Just random people that hey, I've never met you before. I don't know anybody in your sphere.
Yeah.
Who are these people?
It's kind of a mixture of all of that, really, because it's friends of friends, or it is my friends, or it's strangers that stumbled upon my stuff or found my listing through someone sharing it, right? So they call me, we go out and do it. But like I said, I grew up in Spanish Fork, and it was a small town, so the community was a lot, everyone knew everyone back then. So I owe a lot to Spanish Fork community for helping me, do all this because of the referrals and stuff, and just kind of knowing everyone around that area. So it's helped mostly the referrals, but it's been.
So most of yours then are really kind of part of your network then.
Yeah.
I guess, and stuff like that, but or extended network, I guess.
Right, but as the years have gone on, I've started to see, strangers are finding my stuff off social media, and then they call, and then we meet up, and then it just turns into a relationship. Okay. Right.
Nice.
So.
Nice. What have you found most successful on social media as far as posting at the houses? When people randomly call you, is it the real estate places like, hey, I'm curious about that house, or is it, hey, I liked a video that you did on something informational?
Yes. Mostly it's like listings I post, and if it's not that particular house they're interested in, they tell me what they are interested in, and then we go find that. Okay. So it all stems back from probably the listings I'm posting and talking about, the videos and stuff. So that's kind of where it comes.
Okay. Yeah. Good to know. Good to know. As far as we kind of talked about this a little bit, I guess, but as far as negotiation goes and communicating with clients, what do you do with, so if I'm a new buyer, a first-time buyer, and I'm buying a house for the first time, what's the process for a first-time home buyer? Walk me through. I've never bought a home before. I call you, Clayton, or I find you on social media.
Yeah.
How much interaction do I get with you? What's the process, I guess?
Yeah. No, my first thing is, let's get you pre-approved. If they haven't yet, right? I send them to you, and then you tell them, numbers. This is what the price range is. Okay. Now we have the price range. Let's figure out an area. Okay. What do you need, right? So that's kind of what we go through, and then it's just kind of an elimination game. Okay, if this house comes up, we're gonna know it because I put you on a hot sheet. Yeah. As soon as that house gets listed, that's kind of in the parameters you're looking for. Sure. We jump on it. We go look. Yeah. So it's figuring out what you qualify for, your wants and needs, and then we go from there and we start looking, and then the negotiation stuff. We kind of figure out the same thing, wants and needs. Like, do you need closing cost assistance? Yes. A lot of people don't even know what that is, right? Can we get your interest rate down? Yeah, let's try it. So let's get you a home warranty that'll help you out for the first year. So there's all sorts of stuff. It's just every client's different. So you just got to figure out what they really need, stuff like that.
And what if a buyer's pre-approved and stuff like that, in this market right now, how long on average are you seeing it takes them to find a house that they like?
It's pretty quick, actually. Okay. Yeah, I would say 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
So pretty hey, they're able to find something.
Yeah.
So there's still enough inventory.
I think so. I think there's still enough inventory. There's obviously way more than like 2021, right? Sure. So it feels like there's a lot more compared to those few years. But yeah, there's still enough inventory. More would be great, but there's still plenty to find. So.
Okay. As far as legal or regulatory stuff, anything you're seeing there, any changes, in Utah that are happening, right now, or nothing really kind of on the horizon, I guess, as far as that goes?
No, not.
What about
Nothing really?
So what about let me rephrase it then. What about for somebody that's saying, hey, I'm just going to do this on my own, sell my own home and stuff like that,
Right.
or buy their own home. What are some of the, not necessarily, legal things that could happen, but some of the things that could go wrong, I guess, for that
Oh,
person.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong if you don't have, proper representation. There's the earnest money battles, right?
Sure.
If people back out, I've seen that happen before.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff on like getting stuff fixed on the home. They don't
Sure.
know how to ask for, repairs or, stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong if you're not safe.
Yeah.
So I'm biased, but I think it's smart
Yeah.
to hire someone who has been, knows the contracts in and out, knows different options and routes to go on certain situations, and it feels like I always feel like I've seen every situation, but then stuff comes up.
Yeah.
And oh, okay, well that's something I've learned from that.
Sure.
But it seems, there's so many things that could go wrong, and it can get kind of scary.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with a huge purchase like this, and it's very important, I would always advise to be represented, if it's me or not me.
Sure.
You know.
Sure. Which I've been doing it for a while too, and I've seen, it seems like you get people that are too aggressive, where they're asking for everything and they offend people, and or you get the opposite where they're too scared and it's like, okay, hey, I don't want to do that because I didn't know I could ask for,
Right.
them to leave the fridge, what I mean,
Right.
or the washer dryer, or whatever, like repairs and stuff like that, and so.
Yes.
And so that's typically where you get, if somebody's selling their home, maybe they're being way too, it's like, there's no way anybody's going to pay for that. Or the opposite, where it's like, oh, hey, that's a steal. They don't
Right.
actually understand what their value is.
Yes, that's huge. I'm glad you brought that up. Because I've seen people sell them homes by themselves, and they're leaving money on the table.
Sure.
Even if I've had this before, like, well, I was gonna just sell to my neighbor for $400. I'm like, well, your house is worth $500,
Sure.
so you can use a
Sure.
realtor, and you'll still make $75,000
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
I've done that before, and also people, they're used to that. Oh, this market was crazy hot. Like, my house is gonna sell fast, and okay, maybe it's worth $600, but let's try $675.
Sure.
And it comes back to bite them in the butt, because they're just wasting time, and then people are like, well, what's wrong with this house? And it was just priced wrong from the get-go.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which I think is important for people. I mean, because I'm kind of a do-it-yourselfer guy. I like to do things myself if I can, right? Save myself money and stuff like that. But I think where, I've always been a big believer in, hey, I get really good at what I do. You get really good at what you do, and we pay each other to help, right? So if I need an electrician, well, I mean, I could probably figure it out, but maybe not, right? And it's like, I want it done right.
Yes.
And there's things that I just don't know, and sometimes they get, discount, things, it's like, hey, they don't shop at Home Depot, for a light switch. They shop at this wholesale place, right?
Yeah.
And kind of the same thing with like, if somebody's going to come to a bank, you go to Wells Fargo because that's where you think of rates. But like, hey, by the way, there's a mortgage broker,
Right.
and we have wholesale rates, and so they're even cheaper, right? So it's you're not actually saving money. In fact, we save you money, and you get to work with somebody, local and direct.
Right. I mean, and you can represent yourself in court, but
sure,
not a lot of people do that. That's kind of scary.
Yes.
And it's kind of the same thing. Like, a lot of stuff could go wrong.
Yeah.
And so you might as well have a professional that's there by your side, guiding you through it, and giving you knowledge. So.
I think you're 100% there. So, talk to me about real estate as an investment. Do you believe it's a good investment? Do you
Absolutely.
do you have you done some of those things on your own?
Yeah.
Tell me your thoughts on real estate as an investment.
Yeah. So I have rentals right now. I've done a few flips. So I'm a huge believer in that, and also growing up watching my parents do it for 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
I saw firsthand what it does.
Sure.
Right. There's all these tax benefits that no one talks about, right?
Yeah.
But then if you just look over time, houses have gone up over time like crazy, and it's just gonna keep happening. So you buy now, it sounds high, but it's probably gonna be double in 20 years.
Yeah.
So I think it's the best investment you can do is real estate.
So I've always been kind of a buy and hold kind of guy,
Mhm.
just because I don't know. That's just what I've done.
Yeah.
but I've always been very interested in flips, just because it's obviously quick cash, right? You buy it, you do a little bit of repairs, you flip it, stuff like that. In a different market, I can see some of the benefits of that. Is it still advantageous? Are flips still a good idea now?
Yeah.
I mean, and tell me why. I guess.
So I mean, I just did one a few months ago.
Okay.
And so we're still in the high price market, but it all just comes down to what you get the home for, essentially. So I know the comparables in areas, or I can find them, right?
Sure.
So I know, okay, this is where I need to be. This is how much I'm going to put in it. Yeah. This should be my profit. Okay. So it's really easy. And if someone wants to get in that, like, okay, help me figure that out.
Yeah.
I can, right? I can show you this is what they're selling for. We can have a contractor walk through it and tell you kind of what it'll cost to fix it up.
Sure.
And then we can go from there. So, yeah, it's you can flip in any market. It's just all about the price you get.
Yeah, for sure. So finding that, and how do you, I mean, how do you find deals like that? I mean, like, or is that more proprietary? Hey, let's talk to me. I know how to do it.
It's tricky. I mean, they're out there, and I think they're going to keep coming.
Sure.
Like crazy.
Sure.
The next few years. So they're out there. They're a little harder to find those super good deals for flips, but they're coming up more and more. I kind of find them.
Okay.
All the
so
time.
I guess that's the plug for you is, hey, if that's something you're interested in, talk to me.
Yeah.
I do find them. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, they're coming.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Any obstacles or challenges we're facing right now as far as, I mean, obviously the big one is higher rates, right? But besides the obvious one, any other obstacles right now with buying or selling?
I mean, the selling, not everyone is as patient, right? You just got to be patient, and we got to be realistic on where we list the house.
Sure.
That's the obstacle, really. Okay, let's list it for where it's comping out.
Yeah.
Not go any higher.
Yeah.
They're gonna ask for some things, so just kind of mentally prepare for that, right? And if they do, we can add it on top. There's all sorts of ways to negotiate it, but people not being patient is one right now.
Sure.
Right. And it comes down the rates, obviously. So
yeah.
But
what about any? You've been doing it for 8 years. Any cool success stories or challenges? Any cool stories from that kind of thing? Off the put you on the spot here.
I mean, I got some stories, but I don't. Yeah, they're cool to me.
Yeah.
But maybe not to other people, but really all of them. The ones like I've cried at closing a few times because people are just so. They're just so excited. Like this was such a big deal for them. Like the road to get to home ownership, and then they finally complete it. You can just see the weight just come off. Like, I did it. So those are my favorite ones where they've worked so hard to get to that, and then we cross that finish line, and to be a part of, like a small part of that is such a blessing. I love stuff like that. So those are success stories for sure.
I like what you just said, because real estate is. I've seen so many people that were really not great financially, and they buy a house, and I've been doing this for a long time, so I check on them, periodically, right? And it's like, oh man, they're in such a better spot just from owning a home, even though financially they're still not. But now they have an asset that's got $200,000 in it, right?
Appreciate it. Yeah.
I mean, and so it's amazing what homeownership can do as far as bringing people out of not necessarily poverty, although poverty, I guess, but increasing people's standard of living and quality of life and stuff like that.
And it's just gonna help down the road, forever. So, yeah, I'm a huge believer in real estate. Real estate, investing in real estate. So,
good. Any thoughts on the future of real estate? I just heard they just opened up the second phase of the Salt Lake Airport and stuff like that. So Salt Lake's getting a bigger airport. We're continuing to grow, right? Like what do you forecast? I guess for I read another thing too that the millennials are actually moving more inward. They used to be people moved to the coasts, right?
Right.
But actually since COVID, people are moving inward.
Which makes sense.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing all that, right?
Totally.
So those are, I guess, a couple things. But like any other forecasts, I guess, on the market or anything like that.
I really think it's going to be harder and harder to own homes down the road,
Sure.
just because these big companies buying up all this real estate and stuff
Yep.
like that. So I'm trying to preach to everybody. Okay, let's get you in a house
Sure.
as soon as you can if you haven't.
Sure.
So, and Utah is starting to get pretty full. So like
Yep.
the only way to go really is south,
Sure.
or east or west a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just gonna get bigger and bigger and crazier and crazier.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's why I'm just like, just jump in it now. I know it could be scary for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But if you're okay with the numbers where they're at, I would always jump in.
Okay.
So
Okay. Oh, good advice. Lastly, I guess just you as a person, as real estate, what things are you doing to continually try to grow and become better? I guess personally and professionally, kind of thing.
I mean, I'm always learning. I'm taking classes all the time. There's classes, everywhere. It
Sure.
seems like to learn all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
1031 exchanges,
Yeah.
Anything.
Sure.
So I go to a lot of classes. I stay up on the market every day.
Yeah.
I'm always checking rates to see where they're going. But every deal is always a learning experience.
Yeah.
So every deal I do, I just feel like I'm progressively getting better,
Yeah.
which is better for everyone, right? I can help my clients more if I'm getting better and learning more.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to continue to keep learning and doing stuff like that. So
Good.
yeah.
You said 1031 exchange. For anybody that doesn't know, tell us what a 1031 exchange is.
So yeah, it's like when you buy an investment property, then you're ready to sell it. Instead of paying capital gains, let's 1031, which is rolling that money into another investment property. So
So
that's
way
kind
you
of the short answer.
Saving on the taxes.
Saving on the taxes, yeah.
Because normally when if I sell something, you got to pay taxes, and then the net is what you then go spend money on. But
Right.
with this, you avoid the taxes initially, so you make 300, put 300 into the house.
Into a new one, yeah.
So-
So you're avoiding taxes. So
Okay, which is great.
yes.
Anything we didn't hit, Clayton, that you wanted to talk about, or anything we missed, or anything like that?
No, this was great.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to explain the 2-1 buy down a little bit more,
Yeah.
because I think that's super beneficial for this market right now, and I've got a lot of people trying to do that.
Yeah.
So, in your words.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a 2-1 buy down is essentially, where you're buying it down the first year for 2 points,
Right.
And then the second year 1 point. So if you have an interest rate of 7%, it goes to 5, and then to 6, and then 7 thereafter. So think of it kind of like an ARM, but instead of it being fixed, permanently, it's variable in the beginning and then fixed
Yeah.
afterwards. Whereas an ARM is normally fixed in the beginning and then variable afterwards.
And so today we'll just say, okay, the rates are at 8%,
Yeah.
right? In 2 years when that 2-1 buy down is up, do I get the 8% or do I get the 10% if they're at 10% in 2 years?
Yeah, so you would get the 8%.
8%.
Yeah,
right.
because you're fixed in at what today's
Yep.
rates are, right? So again, you're never ideally those future rates are not 10%, but more like
Right.
6%, and we'll refinance
And
you.
refinance.
But as a worst case scenario, and that's what we qualify you off of too,
yes.
is the 8,
Yeah.
right? So that way, you don't have to worry about like, hey, can I really afford this? Well, I mean, we've determined you can, right?
We'll tell you the numbers now.
And we'll tell you numbers now. So
Okay,
this is
will be.
worst case scenario.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, that's great.
it's a good program. It obviously just helps soften the blow of these higher interest rates.
Right.
Right. And so,
Rates are coming down.
yeah.
So they'll come down, and after you do the 2-1 buy down, we'll just refinance, and
Yeah.
you'll miss the craziness of multiple offers and bidding wars and money above appraisal and all that
That's
stuff.
exactly it. And we are trying to help clients too right now, where we're offering from now until the end of the year, where any loan we do, if we do that refinance later on, we get rid of the lender fee, so no underwriting
Oh,
fee
cool.
and stuff like that. So that way they can refinance essentially for no lender costs.
Right.
kinda
That's
thing.
great.
So yeah, kind of helps them on that part.
Yeah.
Again, just trying to do things to help people, get into homes and stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's the goal
that's the goal.
for all of us.
That's exactly it.
So
Thanks, Clayton. Thanks for coming on.
yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. And thanks everybody else for listening. And like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.